I'm David Hicks. I'm Director of Photography of the three, what would you call them, 1965 anniversary episodes of Thunderbirds. There's lots of Davids who worked on Thunderbirds, old and new. David Lane, David Hicks, that's me, David Elliott, David Holliday, David Mason, David Tremont, David Graham, obviously Parker.
And yet not one of the brothers was named David. Not
Really?
one of the Tracy brothers was called David.
Yeah, you don't have to be called David to work on Thunderbirds, but it helps. So now you at least remember I'm called David. You might not remember I'm David Hicks, but at least you'll say, when they say, who do you go and see talking? It's David somebody. So that's me, David Hicks. This is the original crew. To make a film, you need teamwork, and that's the Thunderbirds team. I think they've named everyone in this picture now, might be a few. This is our team, much smaller team, and not everyone is in the team is on that photo. This is actually the very last shot to celebrate finishing our production. How on earth did I get to work on Thunderbirds? It's just like a dream come true, isn't it? We all, as kids, we all thought it was a dream that I didn't even have. It was like, you can't say I dreamed of working on Thunderbirds, but I just thought that would be just totally amazing, working on all those special effects and doing explosions and the whole thing. I mean, to me, the reason I like Thunderbirds is it's just like an optimistic view of the future that's got comedy and drama. I mean, we're so full of pessimistic things going on at the moment. Looking at Thunderbirds, it's just like a wonderful, bright, everything is fantastic in Thunderbirds. You know, they sort of say things like, that's the most fantastic idea I've ever heard. I think that's Trapped in the Sky, when they send up Meddings and he's flying in his thing. And he said, that's the most fantastic idea I've ever heard in my life. And then might just work. And that's the whole attitude of Thunderbirds is like that. Optimistic and just for the future, you know, enthusiastic about the future. And this is me. I don't know how old I'm there. That's primary school, Ragnar School. I'm probably 8 or 9, something like that. Watching Thunderbirds, just like impatiently waiting, watching this programme. You can feel the enthusiasm already, can't you? And this is before Thunderbirds started. I used to be sitting there. I think I even watched the beginning. It's not like watching the end credits. It's like I'm watching. It was called Weekend One. Thatcher's Other Island. Political boredom. I mean, I was excited about Thunderbirds. My children actually came to visit me filming Thunderbirds. Can you imagine how excited they were? They only came for a day. That's the only time we could fit in that they could come. But you know, imagine actually seeing Thunderbirds being made. That's another level. I'm very happy that they got to do that, because you know, years from now, when they say, "What did your dad do?" They go, "Oh, we remember seeing Dad visiting Thunderbirds." It's going to be etched in their memories. So I'm very happy about that. So this bit feels a bit like This Is Your Life, you know, when they bring on the people who transformed your life. This is Matthew. This is me. Matthew and Terence, they got me into Thunderbirds. And obviously watching Thunderbirds, we wanted to make our own movies. I don't actually remember when I met Matthew and Terence. It's just like they would, as long as Thunderbirds been there, they'd been there. I don't remember the date. I remember going to see Star Wars in 1977, the first Star Wars, and we both saw each other with our dads, and they're like waving, sitting with our dad. Matthew and Terence were great at making models, and there's another. I wasn't very good at making models, but I did make the palm trees. I've got a love for palm trees, and for the 60th anniversary, I planted a palm tree in my garden. So I'll be able to remember that in years to come, palm tree. So this is me, and I'm already taking on the look of a special effects man covered in mud and plaster and all kinds of stuff. Now, I don't know why I've got white socks. Must be a Michael Jackson thing. Was it around that time? But Yeah, so, we'll just show the film, okay. Is there sound?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thunderbirds are go.
Obviously, you weren't that good at editing. It's been edited, that's like a shortened down version. The real thing is kind of a lot longer, and we found the puppets way too hard to make, and we kind of had an attempt at making puppets, but we just thought, oh well, we can't do the puppets, let's just do the models. And we kind of filmed bits off the TV to fill in the gaps. And yeah, that totally, making that first Super 8 film was an eye-opening thing for me, and it's what made me want to become a cameraman and just be interested in special effects, really. So after we made that film, of course we've got to go and see Jerry, and we got to see you know, the cast. So we went to Fanderson 82, which is like the Fanderson convention. And we saw Jerry, and I think we spoke to Shane Rimmer, and we spoke to Barry Gray. I can't remember who else was there.
Ed Bishop was there.
Ed Bishop. They both came, obviously. We all went.
Yeah.
Ed Bishop was there. But I remember talking to Shane Rimmer, he's quite a nice guy. That experience of filming our own Thunderbirds made us want to. We were just so excited. The combination of seeing Star Wars and watching Thunderbirds made us, we just want to make our own movies now. And this is one of our films, and we're building some. My brother was a builder, so he had all this scaffolding. So we built a set in the garden, and it just took up the whole garden, and neighbours didn't actually ask what we were doing. They just went, morning. I think at one point they sort of said, this is not going to be permanent, is it? So that's a bit of our set. It's really like we're copying The Professionals. Like it really looks like a back lot. You can see the sky there. Of course, we're getting involved in explosions and all sorts. This is where me and Matthew sort of part company, because we're almost, I think we're 15 or 16 here. I go off to get some new shorts, because I've actually got two short shorts, and Matthew goes to, I think I've got this right, but I'm not sure of the timeline. I think you went to America to visit ILM, you know, Industrial Light and Magic.
Yes.
Did you do that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And to show our film to Industrial Light and Magic. So I went to get some new shorts, and Matthew went to Industrial Light and Magic. So he kindly bought me this book, the Industrial Light and Magic book, which is like an amazing book. It goes through all the, and this is Industrial Light and Magic before they went computer. It was all mechanical effects. And he met Ken Ralston, who's one of the special effects guys, and he got him to sign the book for me. It's 1987. Keep working on your dreams, you might just get what you, which is a bit prophetic sort of. I suppose I did dream of working on Thunderbirds, and the dream came true. After that, Matthew had gone to America, and I wrote off to all these companies, like loads and loads of companies, saying that I'd work for free. And then I found this company called Gateway Films, and it happened to be just down the road from where I live, which is quite handy. Everyone else didn't reply to my letter, but the company that replied to the letter was just down the road. I joined the YTS scheme, which is the government, because in the 80s, everyone's out unemployed. There's so much unemployment in the 80s. So I managed to find a YTS scheme. I got paid £25 a week. This is my first week at filming. I'm not actually doing the camera, I'm just doing the sound. And in those days, the camera was separate to the recording. It wasn't all in one. And we had these two guys, Mike and Doug. And you know, when you first start work, they kind of play tricks on you, and they send you for a left-handed screwdriver and go for a long wait. They do things like that. And these guys bet me £5 old money. Well, I couldn't eat a donut without licking my lips. And they kind of sat there watching to see if I licked my... I did get... So I added £5 to my £25 a week wages. While I was at Gateway, I had all these kind of strange corridors and rooms with 16mm prints and different rooms. And one day I was walking down one of the corridors, and I could just hear this noise. Click, burr, click, burr. I thought, what is that noise? And I knocked on the door, and there's this guy, and he's working on animation stand, and this is Kevin Davis. I thought, wait, what are you working on there? And I'll show you what he was working on. And this is where he was working on.
Stay on this channel. This is an emergency.
He was doing the animation for Thunderbirds. So this is Kevin Davis. He was doing the animation for Terrorhawks, and he's become famous now for being. He worked on Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, doing the animation as well. And now he's like a best-selling, Sunday Times best-selling author of Hitchhikers. And so me and Kevin became friends, and Kevin kind of dragged me into doing things. And then we went back, Fanson 84. And we made a film for Fanson 84, which was called Jerry Hawks. But there's quite a good puppet of Jerry. Anyway, so we had the puppet of Jerry, and this film got shown at the convention. And this, I don't know what I'm doing here. I've got a projector on my head, and I'm doing the Mistron green things that go across and change people into things. But anyway, I started working for ITN. I became a freelance cameraman. If you'd have been around in the 90s and been walking on Westminster Green, you probably would have bumped into me. Yeah, so I've skipped like about 10 years there. And this is when I met Stephen LaRiviere. Kevin, I was still friends with Kevin, and he introduced me to Stephen LaRiviere. He asked me to, he was asked to do DVD extras for Terrorhawks. You can see how it all links together. I met Kevin making Terrorhawks, and Riviere was making Terrorhawks. The first thing we did was interview Steve Begg. I think he's just done Batman or something like that. He's done loads of movies, Steve Begg. He's worked on all the Bond films, and he's a great special effects guy. Filmed Richard Gregory in Soho Square, with lots of people shouting and interrupting the interview. Sadly, Richard Gregory is no longer with us. He actually was part of the crew for the episodes we made, and he never got annoyed about anything. He just smiled. Because he's used to working on big movies, and you can't fall out with people on big movies because you're going to see them again. So you don't want to fall out with them. So he just smiled the whole way through, and he made these palm trees, and he was a great guy. Sadly missed. We worked on did a supercar documentary, and that led to doing Filmed in Super Mario Nation, which is really where we got the idea to make a new episode of Thunderbirds. And the first thing we did was to go and see David Graham to record the voices for the documentary, and that's kind of the pattern for making Thunderbirds, that you record the voices, and then once you've got all the voices recorded, you play back the voices on set. And then we went to Bray Studios, and Bray Studios was on the verge of close down. This is Lee Took's studio, and he was the last person at Bray Studios, and they were going to close it all down, and it was all going to be knocked down and made into houses and stuff like that. So we went to film there, and Andy Rolfe built this reconstruction of the Tracy, not the whole Tracy lounge, but just part of the lounge. Perfect detail. It looked like the original. It wasn't quite so high budget, the film of Supermarination. So this is my daughter, and she's just looking at the camera. I've got a skateboard, just a bit of MDF, and we were doing, you know, the shot in Captain Scarlet where he's in the graveyard and it kind of tracks across, it comes down from the moon and it tracks across and you see Captain Black. Well, in the documentary we did the same shot but with Parker at the end of it. And so it tracks down and you sort of hear Penelope go, "Parker, what are you doing there?" It's a very in joke. Anyway, so we did that for MDF, with a skateboard and MDF, and I think it kind of worked okay. And this is at Islet Park, and we're doing another part of the documentary where the crew went back to Islet Park, because Islet Park is where they first started filming Twizzle and all the early Thunderbirds episodes. That's Islet Park. It got sold recently for some crazy amount of money. I don't know. It used to have a ballroom where they filmed Twizzle. They were in a kind of ballroom, and it was just, the ceiling was just high enough, and you see photos of them kind of bending over. You know, it's a very primitive studio for that time. Filmed in Supermarination got premiered at the BFI, and it got some great reviews. These are some of the paper reviews. And Channel 4 liked it so much they decided to release it at the cinema. You know, we've just had a cinema release of Trapped in the Sky, where they did a similar thing for our documentary. And we went along, of course, took the puppets with us, and puppets and popcorn. And it's the only film that it's only the only thing I've ever worked on that shown at the movies, you know, in cinema, which is quite an amazing thing for me. I never thought I'd see anything. Yeah, so we took Brains and Scott there, looking quite cosy, cosy there. I'm not sure. It looks like when I see this picture, it looks like Penelope saying, "You've forgotten where the car is again, haven't you?" It doesn't look very happy in that, does it? During the filming of Filmed in Supermarination, we all sort of spoke about these records. There's 3 vinyl records, because obviously in the 60s there's no VHS and you could only see the episodes when they're actually on. You know, if you wanted to experience Thunderbirds, there was no VHS or anything, so they made these records that were like mini episodes. And we all thought, why don't we take the original sound from Thunderbirds and make new episodes? Now, they're not the best records to do that on, because they've got a lot of dialogue that is like, "Oh yeah, he walks over there," and it's got a lot of descriptive dialogue, so I kind of had to cut it around a bit. So once they'd done that, we had all the episodes in audio form. So then we had to just produce the images to the episodes. So then there was a Kickstarter campaign that we raised, what is it? 219,000. Originally we were just going to do 1 episode, and enough money came in to do all 3 episodes.
Now, 50 years since the classic children's show first premiered on ATV here in the Midlands, Thunderbirds is making another comeback.
Yes, a team of filmmakers are making 3 new episodes in the style of the originals after raising hundreds of thousands of pounds from an online campaign. Mike Griffiths went along to see them at work.
Now the puppet heroes of international rescue are back, complete with strings.
Speak now, Lady Penelope, or you will never speak again.
You're wasting your time.
And if they sound just how you remember, well, that's because they are. This is a new classic episode, one of 3 based on albums recorded by the original cast in the 1960s.
The whole ethos of this project is to recreate Thunderbirds exactly as it was back in 1965. A few concessions to technology in terms of the way we're making it, but what appears on screen must look like it could have been made by the team back in the 60s.
From the Himalayas to the Pacific, everything's filmed under one roof. Now, if you're a fan, you'll recognise this, International Rescue's base on Tracy Island. It's an exact replica of how it would have been in those original episodes. 50 years on, the new ones are being made in exactly the same place.
Okay, everybody ready? Okay, roll camera, weather, and action.
The techniques might not seem the most sophisticated, but the results speak for themselves. It's a painstaking task, and the team turned to fans to fund the project online, raising more than £200,000 in a month.
So here are the stars of our show. These are puppets that are actually replicas of the original Thunderbirds puppets. They're exactly the same in that they're made from the same molds. We have the original voices as well, so I'm really hoping when people watch this thing, when it's when they get the disc or whatever, they see it in the screening we do, that they'll look at it and go, oh yes, this is Thunderbirds. This is, it's like seeing just a new episode that I've never seen before.
The new episodes have won the backing of fans worldwide, along with the son of the show's creator, the late Gerry Anderson.
He did say how difficult the puppets were to work with and how difficult the whole production was and how expensive it was. So he would definitely think that everyone here was a bit crazy to be going down this route. But I think seeing the rushes come together and these early scenes cut together and how well it's coming across on camera, I think he would be really honoured.
Maximum thrust.
This isn't the first Thunderbirds revival. Only this year, a CGI-enhanced remake launched here on ITV. But for this crew, fans and filmmakers alike, this is their way of paying tribute to the pioneering team behind the show 50 years ago and their high-tech vision of the future. Mike Griffiths, ITV News.
It's amazing, isn't it? Why do you think it's so popular still?
I don't know. I think because it's not computer generated.
Yeah, it's the simple things, isn't it?
Yeah, love it.
Yeah, I agree with that. It is so popular because it's not computer generated. It's real puppets, and you can feel the universe of Thunderbirds when you watch it. You kind of forget that it's puppets after a while. When it's really good, you just ignore the fact that it's puppet because it was made like a movie. It didn't pander to childlike. Some of the time it drifted off into that a little bit. The majority of time it was just made like a movie. And kids like feeling older than they really are, don't they? They like kind of seeing things that they like seeing kind of adult things in a way. But it was adult things, but in a nice way. The goodies were good, the baddies were bad, and you knew the baddies would get their recompense. They wouldn't win. I'm going to switch back and forth a little bit between how they filmed and how we filmed. Filming of Thunderbirds is split into 2 units: the puppet unit and the special effects unit. And the puppet unit is Derek Medding's side. The live action is all the other Davids, all the other directors. But yeah. So a unit is it's an army term actually. Unit. You have a unit of soldiers, and that's where they call it a film unit. And I don't know if you've seen these signs when you drive around. It normally says unit on it. You do see these other ones say base, cars, location, tech, but they're basically describing where. They're giving direction to where the filming is going on. It's kind of pre-sat navs where people didn't know where anything was, but they still kind of carried it on now. You still get little signs when you're driving towards the location. You see these little signs because the actors charge so much money. They don't want to waste money because they got lost. They want to be absolutely sure that the crew and the actors all arrive at the location, so they put these little signs. And I live in Hemel Hempstead, and it's been nicknamed Hemelwood because there's so many film crews. So the cameras they used is, this is a Mitchell, it's a 35mm camera, and so it was invented by Henry Boger and George Alfred Mitchell, and this is a real Hollywood camera, you know. Some people say that's how they got Mickey Mouse, isn't it? Those round, and that's a bit of an urban myth. It's like, I can imagine if you were an animator, you might think, that'd be a good thing to have ears shaped like that. So this camera is quite big. It's an American camera, and we actually reshot some. This is us filming Parker, and I don't know if you can see it. Anyway, this thing coming out the side is the video tap. This allows the puppeteers to see what the film camera is seeing. You know, who invented this idea is a bit of a mystery. Like, no one quite knows, well, when did that first start, then being able to see the images off the camera? And apparently it's Jerry Lee Lewis. He wanted to be able to see himself doing his routines and play them back. That's the first origin that I've been able to find. But Jerry Anson kind of popularised the idea of having a camera feed from the film camera into monitors. And I think he had this kind of office in the studio where he kind of sat there and shouted things for a speaker. They're filming in 120 frames per second, which is what the Mitchell, the fastest speed it could film at was 120, which slows everything down. This is the Arri. This is my Arri. I bought an Arri. It's like super. Most of the time they used it on the tripod. It's super heavy. You don't want to feel the weight. Feel the weight. They call this the camera that would never die because it's just go on forever. And it's got no electronics in it. The only electronics is in the electric motor. It's got a kind of switch that basically turns it on, off. I think I can do that, on, off. So this is the camera they use. It's kind of classic of its time. This camera actually, a modified version of this. Have you seen this, The Good, the Bad and the Ugly? They use this camera, this style of camera, but it's a modified version into Technoscope. Thunderbirds was, obviously, they didn't do the voices at the same time as the puppets. They pre-recorded all the puppet dialogue. And when they're filming, they play back the sound and they get the lips to match the sound. So why do you need to have the camera in what's called a blimp? So this is what the camera looks like in a blimp. And a blimp is to cut out the sound from the camera. Well, why do we need to cut out the sound if there's no dialogue? It's just on playback. I think I've come to the conclusion that they just kind of put the camera in that for publicity because it looks more impressive in a big Hollywood style rather than looking like this, which looks a bit Mickey Mouse. It doesn't look Hollywood, does it, that so much as that. I think that's why I think that's Derek Meddings or whoever it is, they're not covered in oil, are they, and plaster. They're looking very smart. So it looks like a very posed picture, that. I think they did that the same with the camera. They put it inside a blimp and to make it look more impressive. Maybe they just couldn't be bothered. They're using it in the blimp, and the other one they're using it without the blimp, as it looks there. It might be that in small, if you haven't got much space, you don't want this huge camera, this huge box, so it might be for that reason. Never quite come to the absolute conclusion about that. So it's called a blimp because it looks like a blimp. It's just the Zeppelin, I think. Yeah, it looks like a blimp, so it's called a blimp. So you can see a picture of the camera inside the blimp. Okay, so this is the camera with the side off, and it's running at 1 frame per second. And at the minute you can see it running at 24 frames per second. I was saying that this is the camera that would never die because it's, you know, earlier I talked about units. Well, the unit is the group of crew, and it's divided into first unit and second unit. And first unit films all the important things with the actors and important shots, and the second unit films all the close-ups of hands, close-ups of door handles, close-ups of this, close-ups of that. Because you don't need all the actors to film a close-up of a door handle. Use anyone's hand. And this is George Lucas, and he's doing second unit. The Star Wars had a bit of a low budget, so they probably had a cameraman and George doing a second angle on the second unit. So he's probably not doing a close up of the door handle, but they tend to use these cameras when they're doing explosions, because if the explosion is much bigger than they thought, you don't want to blow up the camera because the Panavision. Most of Star Wars got shot on Panavision, but the second unit is shot on modified Arrow. That's a modified Arrow. So and these cameras were used right up until Return of the Jedi as second unit. So they're just kind of used as like, oh, we need this shot, we need a second angle. Apparently, I'm going back to The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. There's a bit in it where they blow up this bridge. And the first time they did it, they blew up 3 cameras. And they blew up the bridge. So they had to rebuild the bridge and do the explosion. And if you look at the explosion, the second time they did it, it seems just as big as the first one. But that's why they use cheaper cameras for the camera that would never die. And it's a very popular camera. It's called the Arri 2C. And you can see it there in The Prisoner. Same. A lot of the classic sort of things we watch on British TV particularly is shot on the Arri 2C. This is how we used to shoot our holiday movies with film. So that's the different film format, 16mm. This is what Thunderbirds was shot. Eastman, 5251, 5254, 50 ASA, 4 per film, chromogenic monopack. Sounds like something Brains would say. Chromogenic monopack. Yeah. I don't know what chromogenic monopack is. It's basically 4 perf. Is basically, you see the holes where the sprockets go. There's 4 of them. It's not more complicated than that. And Technoscope is 2 perf. It will be squeezed. 2 frames will be squeezed within the 4 frames. So the 50 ASA is the speed of the film, how quickly it reacts to the light. They had 50 ASA film. When we filmed, we had 800 ASA film. So that's why they needed loads of light. And we've seen shots of Thunderbirds, like 10K. They use 10Ks. And 10K is like, imagine 5,000 60-watt light bulbs in one thing. That's a 10K. It's like amazing amount of light. So because we had 800 ASA, we could use half the amount of lights, which is still loads of light, which sometimes was good because the studios in Slough didn't have any heating. So they actually used to ask me, can you turn the lights on? Because we're freezing. But at times it was freezing and times it was too hot. Yeah, so this is the formats, 4 perf, there's a 3 perf, and there's 2 perf. So there's kind of other complicated additions to that with anamorphic lenses, and I can get into very, but I won't complicate it. Let's say it's 4 perf, 3 perf, 2 perf. I think we can get that. Just The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, that was done on, what's that slogan? Free men, the Civil War wasn't hell, it was a practice. I love those movie slogans. Now, what has Downton Abbey got in common with Thunderbirds? Well, they use the same cameras as us. The first series of Downton Abbey was shot on the same camera that we used, an Arri D21, which is a kind of crossover camera from film cameras. It's got optical viewing as well as digital, and it records on it doesn't record on the camera, it records on a separate recorder. So the second camera we had was called Arri Alexa. Now, nearly every movie you've seen in the last 5-10 years has been shot on an Arri Alexa. Panavision used to be the king of the movies, but recently a lot of the movies are shot on Arri Alexa, so we had a really good camera to film our episodes. This is on digital format. And we had a huge selection of lenses. Most of the close-ups that you see on Thunderbirds done at 85mm, and the special effects are done on 24mm to get a wide depth of field. That's the D21. So the Arri didn't shoot in 4:3, it just shoots in widescreen, 16:9 format. So we thought, well, how are we going to get 4:3 from 16:9 now? So we kind of did it in a very, I'm sure there's a better way of doing it, but we did it. We actually shot our episodes in widescreen, and we put a couple of bits of tape on the monitor to give us the 4:3 aspect ratio. And then in the editing, we created the 4:3. So somewhere in the archives, there's widescreen versions of the episodes that we made. So that's just in, the recording was on a separate thing, so he's operating the recording of the camera there, push action. So it's recorded on this, it's not quite as romantic, is it? It's recording on this thing. It's not as romantic as bits of film. I just like being able to hold film things, the real things. It's not as romantic, but that's the way of the world. So the way we filmed Thunderbirds, it's a mixture of, sometimes we're actually in the set. So we built the set and we sort of filmed the puppets like real people, and we're actually there, and the camera's on very short legs. So we're filming them just like the people. Other times we had a little bit of track. This is the hood. He's about to come through that door, and we did a kind of track, a move in. Other times we had a little bit of track. This is my favourite bit of camera. Sorry to bore you all with this camera stuff, but that's my story. This is called the Vinton Pathfinder. Jerry bought this, and I've not been able to confirm when he bought this. And I think he bought this for Four Feather Falls, because Twizzle doesn't seem like something that'd have fancy shots in, does it? Four Feather Falls, when you look at episodes, it's got some camera moves. So I think he bought it for Four Feather Falls. It must have cost absolute fortune in the 1960s. I don't know how much. But Brian Johnson, he bought it from Jerry when they finished filming Thunderbirds, and he actually had to, he kind of had the last laugh on Jerry, because he had to hire it back to Jerry once they'd done, because he was doing Space 1999. So Brian calls it the rotambulator, because it's a bit like something out of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. It's got all these wheels and levers and things, and you turn one wheel to make it go up and another wheel to make it go round. I actually ran over the director's foot on the first thing. And it's incredibly heavy. You can't lift it, you just have to wheel it around. Yeah, it's called a Pathfinder. Okay, so that's another military term. I know Jerry was, his brother was in the Air Force or something, he was interested in military. And the Pathfinders are like an aircraft force, and they kind of go ahead of the bombers, and they drop these flares, and where they've dropped the flares, the other bombers come in, and they can, because they've dropped they find the path. And the Vinton's obviously named after that. It's a Vinton Pathfinder. But Jerry asked Barry Gray to make the Thunderbirds theme a bit like a cross between the Dam Busters and Bonanza. And I can't hear Bonanza. I listened to Bonanza, I couldn't really hear Bonanza, but I can kind of Dam Busters, I can kind of see that kind of, yeah, it's a bit Dam Bustery. So the design for this bit is based on a gadget for loading bombs. I haven't got an older picture, I've only got a newer picture. But this gadget is based on something for loading bombs on aircraft. When we got it, it had been in Brian's garage for ages, and we had to use loads of WD-40 on it to try and get it moving again, because it wasn't moving. So most of when you see moving shots in the episodes, it was done on the original, and we did it on that. So I thought I'd bent it. You see this arm? It's got a little arm. I wound it down. I thought I'd bent the arm. No, don't worry, it's always been bent. So it's a fantastic bit of kit. It's got a little plate on it. It's made on North Circular Road, number 15 North Circular Road. Looks like Stately Homes, something in Stately Homes. So some of the time you're sitting on it, and some of the time you're standing to the side. Any time you get to sit down, really. So this is just the wheels that makes it go up. And you can go quite high, it goes quite high, so you can do high shots. Very useful bit of kit, and without it, I don't think we could have made the episodes quite as good, really. But the only thing with it is it was made to be fit. The tripod head was made for a Moy head. This is a Moy head. It's like a very old-fashioned thing. You kind of turn wheels. It's all turning wheels. Turn wheels to move the tripod. It's all wheels. Anyway, so we couldn't fit that on. So we just used my tripod, which is a German thing, Satchler. So I think Richard Gregory made something so I could fit there. So this is Derek using the same dolly, and he's got the Mitchell camera, and he's got the Moy head, and he's got the guy who used to push the dolly, who they used to say, the guy pushing the dolly had a limp. And the tracks were never that smooth. He used to push the dolly, and I took the opportunity to recreate the same shot, same dolly. It's got a bit rusty. You can see in this shot, it's all sparkly, shiny new, and the whole thing. It's still. I think it's gone back in Brian's garage. Actually, it's still around. It should go in a museum before it. So these are the studios. So you can see the similarity. You know, we weren't exactly in the same studio. We were in the studio that I think we were in the studio where the still photographer Doug Luke. He got his own studio at one point. I think we're in that one, but I might be wrong on that point. So this is filming Thunderbirds I'll go, or Thunderbird 6. What's the one with the biplane?
6.
6. This is filming Thunderbird 6. It's either taking up the entire space in the studio to do that. There's no space at all. They've got lights hanging from the ceiling. Andy Rolfe and Dave Mason, before we started any filming, they built the entire Tracy Lounge, 360-degree Tracy Lounge. So it's just fantastic. I'm using Thunderbird's phrase now, fantastic. It's fantastic. At times, when it went quiet, I'd just like sit in the middle of the Tracy Lounge and think, I'm on Tracy Island. Because wherever you looked, 360 degrees, it was Tracy Island. But it was made so you could take it to bits, so you could film different bits. And you end up in a bit of chaos because you start with one set, and the only set that stayed for the whole thing was the Tracy Lounge. Everything else was made as we needed it. So the whole place ends up an absolute rubbish tip because you don't want to throw anything away because you might need it for the next. I just loved it. I felt like I was on a desert island. And you build the island. You're there when you're putting the palm trees. The sky is a painted sky, and the sea is just a bit of board painted dark blue. But it's got bits of tinsel stuck on the blue, and a fan that blows the tinsel kind of moves around a bit, and that's how it looks, a kind of way. Now the lighting on Thunderbirds, it's not exactly photorealistic real, is it? It's just like nice. It's like nice lighting. It's like, if you look at this scene, next time you look at this scene, I think Penelope's talking to Jeff. And obviously if you're on a real desert island, one person's looking at the sun and the other person isn't looking at the sun. So they can't be both lit the same. But in the world of Thunderbirds, we just want to make it look nice. So when Jeff's talking to her, his face is just as lit as her face, which you don't even think about. You just think, well, this is Thunderbirds. Everything looks fantastic. It doesn't have to be look dirty, sort of in the shade. Like, it just looks nice. That was my attitude to it. I'm not trying to make it look real. I'm not creating reality here. I'm creating the nice Thunderbirds look. So this is their filming the original. You can see the 10K. They've got 3 10Ks there, and the 10Ks they're not like back there. They're like, some of the models used to actually melt because they just start burning. You have to rip them out, just set on fire to them. So this is our lights. It's like similar but 2Ks instead of 10Ks. A great thing that helped us, we before we started, we bought 10 huge lumps of polystyrene. You can see one of them there. I think they're £100 each of these lumps of polystyrene. And the polystyrene blocks got used for everything, like carved into mountains, like staging. It's like invaluable. You see them. This is Hilton carving mountains. I've still got the mountains in my back garden. I was showing the previous. Actually, I've got the mountains in my back garden. Someone came to put a new fence in, and they went, "I'm not going to be able to move those rocks. It's going to cost you a fortune to move those rocks." But I just picked up and went, "No, they're just made of polystyrene." But he actually believed they were real. So this is Hilton, and Hilton made the most incredible sets out of almost nothing. We'd finish work, and I would go home, and I'd come back the next day, and he's built this amazing set. And the thing with sets is because you've got to make a miniature version, you can't make the main set too big, so you've got to match. So this is the miniature version, and this is so obviously if you built a big miniature, you'd have to build a huge set to go with the puppets. So you have to kind of think through those things as you go. So that's his Penelope's car. That's just the model set. So you can see as we make it, this is abominable. I can say that. I can't normally say abominable stoneman. You can see we kind of use bits of set. You can see those girders like that. So you can see the girders in that scene. So we use the same things upside down. And I think that happens in Thunderbirds. They kind of use bits. That's what makes it kind of real. You kind of spot things. Oh, well, I've seen that in that other episode. It makes it more real. I didn't have much time to prepare this talk, so this is kind of, I'm just going to leave it there because there's a lot more to say, but I'll just leave it with the kind of chaotic things that go on with Thunderbirds. But yeah, thanks for the. I'd love to go back and make Stingray. That'd be great, wouldn't it? Has anyone got any money to make Stingray?
I'll give you everything I have. So what kind?
I love Stingray. It's kind of underrated. I think I quite like it.
Yeah.
I've done Thunderbirds, so I've got to do Stingray.
Snow. Running and action.
You have tried to convince me that Parker has fallen down a crevasse to his doom. But I know that although he has fallen into a trap, he is, at this moment, very much alive.
You talk too much. You are completely overwrought. I insist you lie down and rest until this brainstorm is over.
I will certainly not lie down. Abominable snowman indeed. I suspected from the first there was some sort of plot behind this. Why else do you think I'm willing to investigate it?
May I suggest, to convince you beyond all doubt of my devotion to your welfare, that we fly over the crevasse when Parker met his unlikely end?
No, we are not as stupid as you would suppose. And furthermore, I have called international rescue. Ready on their way.
So, you have tried one with me. Very clever.
Keep your hands where they are. I have you covered.
Right.